Alright guys, it's San Augustine here, and we're going to start our new unit. And before we start our new unit, we need to do some tutorials. Yes, tutorials. I know how much you love them, but hey, it's the best way to learn things, and so therefore we have to do them. Alright, we're going to do something called the dispersion tutorial. Dispersion tutorial is basically trying to get the splatter effect that creates an incredibly dynamic image onto your picture plane. So before we start with that, I wanted to show you something really quickly. I know some of you know this already, but I want to show you how you can download brushes. So basically, I've already downloaded the brushes that I wanted to put on here on the file, so we're just going to have to go with pretending like we are downloading the brushes, and it'll just show up on your actual brush after it's done. Alright, so when you have your brushes selected here, make sure that you tap on this lovely folder with it looks like some kind of container that holds brushes. Click on that, and then all of your brush presets will come and show up here. When you want to load a brush, a new one, come down to the bottom of this where it says it's supposed to be the yes, there we go, the Open Preset Manager. So we click on that, and it'll open up to different types of brushes that we can have or we already have on our system. When you want to load, click on the load, and it will allow you to open the downloaded brushes. So you click on open. I already have these on my actual brushes, so I can't load it again because it'll just double it up. But usually you just click open, and then it'll open up, and you'll see that your brushes would be downloaded down below at the edge of whatever is the next line. So I've downloaded these smoke brushes, which is a pretty cool effect. It's actually really interesting, so I can't wait to show you how you utilize these tools. Alright, so now that you're done downloading your brushes, you're going to open up your file. As always, 300, 8.5 by 11, 300. Your color mode, you can keep it as RGB color, or you could change it as CMYK color. And it really doesn't matter because we're not printing these for a book or a publication, so we can keep it as RGB color. It shouldn't really matter. Just depends on what you feel like working with. I like working with transparent, then because you can add the rest of the images afterwards. So we're going to work with transparent and then click OK. And there's our new, there's the brushes that we're going to be using later on. So I'm going to transfer my image now onto my plane. I love opening up the images first before actually transferring them. Rather than just dragging the files, I like to open them, because then it becomes it doesn't become a smart object, which isn't something that I want to show up as. So I have this file called model, and it's a PNG file. As you can see here, the ending is PNG. So that means that the actual background is clear of any sort of other background that's remaining in there. Should you have a background though, like let's say we put another layer here and we have yellow already selected there, and then I've got the gradient or the paint bucket tool. So should you have, I'm just going to shift that over. Should you have a background though on your actual page, what you can do is use either the magic eraser tool. So if you click or hold down, it'll say eraser tool, background eraser tool, magic eraser tool. So you can use the magic eraser tool just to get rid of that background. Let me just flatten this, and then we can get rid of it. Okay, so you can use that just so you can get rid of the background. It's a little tricky when you have those areas, so you have to be very careful, and this is why I like the PNG. That way I don't have to worry about having these areas that I have to get rid of. Okay, because then it just automatically comes off, and it doesn't have anything. I don't have to work on the hair. The other way that you could do this is through using the quick selection tool and selecting your different areas. So if this was our, lasso tool, not that one. If this was our quick selection tool, you're basically just selecting the person's skin, and then just, slowly going through it. If you accidentally take more than what you need, you can just minus the actual selection, and so on until you have all the areas that you need. Alright, so that's that. And you just keep going until you finish off and grab all of the person here. And again, when you get to the hair part, it's a little trickier. So that's why I like to ensure that the images that I have already are either the ones that I take myself, or if I am taking it from the internet, I'm taking ones that don't have a background any longer already. So it's just a plain background, and I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to do a lot of work on them. Okay, so once you have that, what you want to do first is change the size, image size, so we can correspond to the previous image that we have, or that we're going to be, the working plane that we're going to be working on. And I'm going to change this to, actually, you know what, I'm going to change it to 10, because it should be okay as 10 by 7. As you can tell, this picture of the model is, if it's any bigger than what we have right now, it might get a little bit pixelated because it was at 100 dpi, and so we just stretched it out. So what I'll do is Command A to get everything, highlight everything, and then I'm going to use the drag tool, and I'm going to drag our lovely model down to this page. And because she doesn't have any shoes, any feet, I'm just going to bring her down to the very bottom so she comes out of the page right here. Once I have that, I've cut out the background. It's in a transparent background. Now I'm going to copy the layer. So I'm going to duplicate it. Duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to call layer 1 as my original layer. So I'm going to go original. And then I'm going to darken this layer. So just change the name to darken. And I'm going to go to the levels. And then I'm going to move my toggle here to 50. Around 50 is good. 52, sure. And then I'm going to click OK. So now it's a little bit darker. And I'm going to place that behind the original image. So I'm actually going to move it just a little bit. And then I'm going to place it behind the original image. So there's my original, and then there's the darkened one. You can tell it's behind it. And actually, I'm going to move that darkened one down a little bit. Alright, and then I'm going to make another, or I'm going to copy another image from the original. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to place this forward, and I'm going to drag out its proportion. So I'm going to transform. I'm going to scale it a little bit towards the left, dragging out its proportion. And I'm going to move it a little bit over to our left side here. So here we go. Alright, so after that, the original copy, so this is the one that's, I guess I'm going to call it extended, or extend. And so I'm going to now use a layer mask filter that I'm going to put onto my darken. So I'm going to start with darken, and I'm going to put a layer mask to that. So I'm going to turn everything off so you can't see anything. And I'm just going to work with the darken one. And I'm going to cover it in black. Well, the mask layer anyway is going to cover in black. So now you can't see the model. And then I'm going to invert this and use the brush tool to brush out different sections of the person. And I'm going to place them on this area. That's what we're going to see later on. Actually, you should just change this into painting so you can see your brush tools. And I'm going to look for some funky brushes that looks interesting for me to use. Maybe this one. Increase the size by using the parentheses and just get some funky effects happening. Maybe one with a little more star-like quality. Oh, maybe this one. Just increase the brush size. Oh, look, we can get some funky lines happening. Oh, it's way too big. Decrease that size. Interesting how this line looks and how it's moving in whatever direction. Alright, so we're gonna maybe go with, oh, I think I like this one. That looks interesting as well. And grab those ones here. Alright, so tapping into my actual object or person and getting some pretty interesting brushes happening here. So different patterns would create some pretty cool splatter looking type. And if you're ever, don't like a certain area, tap back with black and you can get rid of some of those spaces and then increase some more different styles here. Get some interesting effect happening. Maybe something like this. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, so I got that. As I've done that part now, I'm going to do the same thing with the other version. So the one that I've extended, I'm now going to turn this off and I'm going to make a mask tool here and do the exact same thing. So make it black. Oops, sorry. Oh yes, because it's hard. Alright, so I'm going to cover that in black and then go back with my brush tool and brush out with white those areas that I need to have showing up. And the more funkier, I mean, this is like a trial. You kind of have to keep trying, figuring out what kind of effects you like most before you actually get anywhere near the style that you want. Alright, so now when that's done, I'm gonna turn those two back on so they look like this. And then on the original one, turn the original back on. So you can see that it's starting to create the effect. And with the original, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mask tool, but instead of turning it black, I'm actually going to keep it as white. So now I'm going to use the black layer mask and then get some of those effects happening. So put some white areas. Onto my actual picture plane. And again, depending on how much effect you'd like to have here, then you can play around with it. You can always go back and bring about certain areas over here to create more of that dispersed look. And again, also make sure you're utilizing proper brushes because some of the brushes don't work as well. So maybe if you use certain types of brushes, it'll have a better effect to your actual disbursement. Alright, and then I bring the original forward on top of it. Okay, so like a splatter effect. And you can also change your opacity if you're not so happy with one parts of it. Okay, so that's one way of doing things for the splatter effect. Okay, so now you're gonna find an image and you're gonna try it out and see and make it a little bit better than what I have had done here.